The Super Bowl 58 matchup for the February 11th contest in Las Vegas is now set. So it's the perfect time to welcome back a Super Bowl winning coach who's also a Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee, Dick Vermeil. Coach, great to see you again.
Nice to be with you, Chet.
Well, Coach, we're going to talk not only about the upcoming Super Bowl, but also about the Eagles, who were unfortunately one and done in the playoffs this year. I know you watched the Birds post-Thanksgiving collapse, 6 losses in 7 games after a 10-1 start. What was your take on why things went so badly?
Well, not really being inside their meeting rooms or on their practice field. All I am is a fan observing what I see and watch on television. And I think it just was a gradual decay, maybe in their process, in their schemes, but certainly they were not the team they were earlier in the season. And I think injuries hurt them a little bit. But I think probably, which has already been done, a detailed evaluation will be taken, and already a lot of it has already been taken in both coaching, in the staff situation, and also now probably going on is the process. The process. There can't be any one thing blamed for the demise. I don't think I've ever seen a team do what they did, and that's not an honor to carry with great pride. But I think and have confidence in the organization and Jeffrey and Howie and Nick that they'll get it right. They've already made some moves that they think were necessary, and that'll probably create a positive change coming this next football season, but it won't ease the pain of what already happened.
Well, over the past week, the Eagles did hire 2 new coordinators, longtime defensive coordinator Vic Fangio and 35-year-old OC Kellen Moore. Are these new coordinators upgrades from their predecessors, do you think?
Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Both have experienced success. Okay, both have been fired before. I know Vic pretty well over the years. I met him initially when in the early USFL when I was head coach of the Eagles, and Jim Moore came in and took Carl's team over with Philadelphia Star, and he was with that group. And I've always thought he was a great football coach and a great person with a lot of experience behind him. I thought they made a mistake in letting him go in Denver. I believed he would have righted that ship. Kellen, he did a lot of great things with the Dallas offense. Had no success last year with their great quarterback. He had his worst year. Of course, he experienced some injury factors as well. But sometimes change is good for everybody.
We got to talk about the quarterback. Jalen Hurts, of course, was great in the 2022 season, pretty average overall in 2023. Why the regression, and what needs to be done to get Jalen Hurts back on track?
Well, obviously, Nick felt that the change in coordinators hurt, and he's already made the move to solve that problem. But, he's the same guy, okay? He isn't any different than he was 2 years ago, other than in performance. And I think they're trying to find the reason for the performance dropping, and more often than not, it's usually within the scheme and within the process that caused the quarterback. He didn't lose his ability, overnight. So, and I think Nick feels right now he made the proper moves in hiring a new coordinator.
Well, the Eagles defense needs a lot of new faces next year, in my view. What are the top priorities defensively, in your opinion?
Well, the pass rush dropped dramatically.
Yeah.
The pass defense was better last year because they had 3 times the better pass rush. And it made everybody in the secondary that might have had a little edge of weakness within their playing ability. And without that pass rush, it became glaring. They would drop to the bottom of the league. And so I think, number one, got to get the pass rush back. And number 2, stay healthy and keep adding talent to that secondary, and maybe more specifically, the linebacker position. Not that it has been taken for granted, but it maybe not the quality they need to get back to where they have to be performance-wise to get back to that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'd love to see them place more of a priority on linebackers and the secondary. Speaking of the secondary, a guy from the past, the 1990s primarily. Eric Allen is one of the finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. A lot of Philadelphia area fans are wondering if this is the year he finally gets the call. Is he going to get in this year, Eric Allen?
I have no clue. Those guys, there's probably a few guys that are going to be automatic, go in on their first vote, but, Torrey Holt, one of my former players, is in the finals for the 5th time. Jared Allen, who I drafted at the Chiefs, was involved with him there, is in the finals again. It's tough. I think you just have to be patient and understand that everybody there that has been nominated and in the finals is a Hall of Fame player. Just like is a Hall of Fame. There's Hall of Fame coaches that aren't in the Hall of Fame, okay? And they're easy to name. They're easy to name. So it's so competitive.
Hey, speaking of Hall of Famers, I got Ray Didinger up here, and you and me, a picture from a few years ago. Speaking of Ray Diddy, he told us the story one time about your first year in Philadelphia in 1976. You were not a big fan of Ray Didinger. Why was that?
I felt at the time that sort of an attack was taken on me for firing a player that was popular, okay, on the team as a special teams player. And, and I don't read the papers or listen to the radio talk shows when I'm working, but someone brought the picture of me chopping a player's head off with a big axe, and that bothered me. And I thought I'd already heard about Ray Didinger and the quality that he was as a person and as a writer. So I thought I should confront him and let him know on a one-on-one situation why I made the move that I made. And we met after a lunch period in training camp. He understood, I understood, and we never had a negative statement between us after that. To me, he's the best of the best, and he has no equal in his profession. And I don't think anybody works any harder. And I don't always agree with everything he says or writes, and he doesn't with me. But I respect his process, and I respect his credibility and integrity. To me, he has no limits. I love the guy.
Yeah, we do too. Hey, I want to ask you about this. I caught you on WIP last week, and you had some real high praise for Patrick Mahomes, saying he may end up being even more highly thought of than Montana and Brady. What made you say that about Mahomes?
Well, he has more innate talent. Both of those quarterbacks were Hall of Fame quarterbacks, are Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And the coaching staffs took wonderful advantage of their talents and what they could do. There was nothing left in regard to development of those two players. Patrick Mahomes has a little bit more to develop in regard to gifted talents. His mobility, his awareness to scramble and throw off his back foot on no foot, jump in the air, throw it behind him, throw it sidearm, throw it damn near upside down and backwards, lateral. He can do it. And, the other two quarterbacks, as good as they were, the best as they, of all of them, really, those two guys, they could not do some of those things.
And his coach, Andy Reid, now ranks, among the NFL's all-time greats. What can you say about Andy? This guy has had quite a career.
Well, the great thing about Andy is his personality and profile and temperament as a person has allowed him to handle all the highs and lows emotionally and keep everything in proper perspective. I didn't have that ability. And because of that, he's been able to stay in the game, work within his own scheme of offense, and keep updating it and improving it and going back into the old stuff and pulling it up today to use next week and all these things. Nobody ever coached the game that has as many years of experience improving his own offense and then applying great players to make it work, and applying a process and a work ethic on the practice field that allows that offense to continue to develop and execute well on game day.
Well, you were pretty good yourself, and that's why we get to introduce.
Not his class. I don't put myself in Andy Reid's class. I wish I was. I wish I had his temperament and those kind of things. But Andy Reid, along with Belichick, I think will end up being in a class by themselves.
Well, we do get to introduce you all the time as a Pro Football Hall of Fame coach, and that is certainly well deserved. And before we let you go, Coach, I got to get your prediction. Super Bowl 58 in Vegas, February 11th, Niners and the Chiefs. Looks like a 1.5-point line in favor of the Niners right now. How do you see this game playing out?
I'd have to go with Andy Reid. Okay. I really deep down in thought the Ravens were a better football team. And maybe if they played three times, they'd win 2, or 5 times they'd win 3. But the one time Andy Reid has to prepare a team to beat you, he's difficult to beat. So, I grew up a 49er fan in Calistoga, California, the Napa Valley. The very first NFL locker room I was ever in, 1961, 49ers locker room after the game, because Red Hickey, the head football coach of the 49ers at that time, his son was playing high school football for me. And Carol and I would be invited to sit with Mrs. Hickey during the games. Then I would get to go in the locker room with his son, Mike Hickey, and see all these 49ers. I'll tell you, it was a very, very inspiring moment for me, believe me. To walk in the 49er locker room and see those guys walking around that locker room was amazing to me. I was a high school football coach, and I will forever, lifetime, be grateful for that experience.
Hey, last thing, when you're watching the Super Bowl, which Vermeil wine will you be enjoying?
Normally we drink the 34 blend, the Cab Franc Petite Syrah. It's an everyday good glass of wine, and you're not sitting there sharing it with a great steak or a great pasta. So it goes along with the type of hamburger you're going to be serving, because it's in and out watching that ball game.
Hope it's a great game. Coach, this is the 3rd year in a row we've done this. Hopefully we'll keep the tradition going next year. Thanks. Enjoy the game, and great seeing you again.
All right. Thank you, Chet.